Infective endocarditis. Definition: infective endocarditis or the bacterial endocarditis is a serious infection of the valvular and the mural endocardium and is caused by different forms of the microorganism and characterized by typical infected and friable vegetation. Mural and the valvular endocardium means the endocardium which lines the heart valve and the heart chambers. Heart valves are mostly involved because the endocardium is more prone to injury where it lines the heart valve. It is a slide which shows heart sounds and murmurs and their location. The only one of the area is present on the right side of the sternum. This is sternum. Here we have the ribs, intercostal space, and these area are highlighted areas where we can see actually we can hear the sound of the heart murmurs. First, on the second intercostal space, right side of the sternum, we have an aortic area where we can hear the aortic stenosis murmur. Then exactly at the same level but on the opposite side, second intercostal space, left side of the sternum, we have the pulmonary area where we can hear the sound of or murmur of the pulmonary stenosis. The regurgitation sounds of the pulmonary and the aortic valve are heard at the same location but on the left side, that is left sternal border, and it is heard during the diastole. This is regurgitation of these sounds. Now we are left with two areas: mitral area, which is at the apex, and left lower sternal border, left lower, not right, over the right ventricle, that is tricuspid area. It's very important. Now first let's see the tricuspid area. If we hear the murmur in the tricuspid area, in oh sorry mitral area, that is the apex, it is of mitral origin. Whether it is mitral regurgitation or stenosis, it depends upon whether we hear the murmur during the systole or diastole. During the systole of the heart, left ventricle actually contracts, and if there is a regurgitation of the mitral valve, then the blood, instead of moving forward, some blood will move backward. This will create a turbulent flow or turbulency in the left ventricle, and we can hear that turbulence or the that sound over this apex. So if we hear the systolic murmur over this area, then it is mitral regurgitation. It is very important because infective endocarditis of Streptococcus viridans origin mostly involve this mitral valve, and it is mostly of mitral regurgitation sound. Then if we hear the diastolic murmur at this apex, it is due to the stenosis, because in diastole the ventricle is actually filling. So if more blood is coming, if the from mitral valve is stenosed, so the blood which is coming from atria to the ventricle, it comes under the greater velocity and greater pressure, so it hits the wall of that one ventricle with greater force, and we can hear that in during the diastolic period of the heart. This is again tricuspid area, left lower sternal border, and if we hear the murmur during the systole, it is due to the tricuspid regurgitation, that is because of backflow of the blood during the stenosis, or sorry, during the systolic of the heart. Also we can hear that ventricular septal defects murmur over here, this part, because if we have the ventricular septal defect on left side, there is will be the right ventricle and the left ventricle. Since in ventricular septal defect we have right to left to right shunt, so blood will shunt from left side from here to this part, and we can hear the murmur during the systole. Second, if we hear this diastolic, during the diastolic phase, we hear the murmur over this left lower sternal border, then it is because of tricuspid stenosis or atrial septal defect. Why atrial septal defect? Simple. In atrial septal defect, blood shunt from left atria to the right atria, and right atria, if and in this way we increase the volume in the right atria, so more volume from the right atria, blood will a large amount of the blood enters into the right ventricle, and we can hear the murmur or the sound. Up why I'm mentioning this heart sounds or murmurs in this infective endocarditis topic. First, it is very high yield and very important to know where the murmur is present and in which case, whether it is regurgitation and which valve abnormality. And in infective endocarditis, in staph aureus or acute infective endocarditis, we hear mostly the murmur in this area, tricuspid area, and in a subacute or streptococcus viridin infective endocarditis, the murmur is mostly present in mitral area or in the aortic or this left lobe border. So it is linked to this topic. Now, classification of endocarditis, it is not simple the classification of infective endocarditis, it is endocarditis, inflammation of the endocardium. So, it can be non-infectious endocarditis or infectious endocarditis. Non-infectious include NBTE, non-bacterial thrombotic endocarditis, mostly associated with hypercoagulable state. It is also known as merantic endocarditis. Non-infective second part is Libman-Sake endocarditis, mostly associated with SLE. And now we are coming to the infective endocarditis. In older classification, we have an acute infective endocarditis. Again, it is caused by Staph aureus. It infects the tricuspid valve, more common in IV drug abusers. Then we have the subacute infective endocarditis, Streptococcus viridin. It infects mitral valve mainly and aortic valve and is not it is subacute in origin. And then we have the chronic infective endocarditis. We can also classify in endocarditis on the basis of the valve, native valve endocarditis and prosthetic valve endocarditis. Native valve is subclassified into community acquired, healthcare associated, that can be nosocomial or non-nosocomial, IV drug abuser, Staph aureus is most common organism, or pacemaker infective endocarditis. Prostatic valve endocarditis, the common organism is Staphylococcus या Staph epidermidis. It is further divided into early less than 2 months, mid-term 2 to 12 months, and late greater than 12 months. Sites. Endocarditis are in the endocardial or infective vegetations are mostly formed on the endocardial surface of the valve or endocardium of the that lines the heart chamber. In the presence of the ventricular septal defect, vegetations will be found on the right ventricular side of the ventricular septal defect because right of side of the heart is less pressure side. So it is easy for the vegetations to form on that side of the heart where the pressure is low. Vegetations found in the coarctation of aorta is usually occur distal to the obstruction. Same reason, proximal to the coarctation mean nerving. The pressure will be high. It is very difficult for the vegetations and the bacteria to set up in such high pressure conditions. So they are found on the low pressure side, that is distal to the obstruction. Etiology. First, risk factor. It is these risk factor. It is also one of the minor criteria which I will discuss later in a form of Duke's criteria. Etiology. Cardiac risk factors. Pre-existing structural heart disease like rheumatic heart disease, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is a risk factor. Degenerative valvular heart disease like mitral valve prolapse, bicuspid aortic valve, calcific aortic valve. Cardiac interventions like prosthetic valve, pacemaker, defibrillator, IV drug abusers are indwelling catheters. Congenital heart disease, ventricular septal defect, patent ductus arteriosus, bicuspid aortic valve. These are the cardiac risk factors, four important risk factors for the development of the infective endocarditis. Then we have the non-cardiac, including the colorectal cancer and ulcerative colitis, because these diseases can lead to the GIT bleeding, and there is a chance that the organisms from the GIT tract can enter into the blood, and then it enters into the heart and cause the infective endocarditis. Dental or oral surgical procedure, it is one of the most important cause of infective endocarditis, especially the streptococcus viridin is present in the oral cavity. IV drug abuser and IV catheters, because the skin is lined by the staph aureus, so these drug intravenous applications of these things can cause result in the sepsis or entry into the blood, of the Staph aureus. So this blood enters directly into the right side of the heart, and Staph aureus can infect the tricuspid valve, leading to acute infective endocarditis. Immunosuppression generally increases the risk of infection. Now, in etiology, we have the causative organisms. We have the streptococcus, which is 50 to 80% of infective endocarditis cases, and mostly it is subacute infective endocarditis. Streptococcus viridin is most important cause and is present in the upper aerodigestive tract, and it may disseminate during the tonsillectomy, dental extraction, or dental cleaning. Now, it infects the previously damaged valve, so healthy valves are not involved by this. That is why it is subacute, and it forms very small vegetations, and it do not cause valvular destruction. Mostly affected valves are mitral valve and the aortic valves, and since it mostly lead to the destruction, if it damage the valve, it can cause destruction that may lead to the regurgitation. So mitral valve regurgitation murmur is heard over the apex during the systole, and aortic valves are also heard in the aortic areas. Then we have the staphylococcus, second important or common cause. 20 to 30% of the subacute cases, mostly subacute cases, are caused by streptococcus, but staphylococcus can also cause these infection, and the 50% of acute. So it is more important for the acute infective endocarditis, and is more common in patients with the venous catheters, IV drug abusers, diabetics, chronic hemodialysis, and prosthetic valve. And the main typical organism for prosthetic valve is Staph epidermidis. Now it can infect the normal valves. It can form large vegetations, can destroy the heart valve, and the Staph aureus infects the tricuspid valve, and its murmur is heard in left lower sternal borders. Andrococcus, this is the third common cause, 5 to 15% of the infective endocarditis cases. It is These are the organisms Staph faecalis or Streptococcus faecalis, bovis, and the Faecium. And these are the organisms which we previously discussed, and the risk factor, that is colorectal cancer or ulcerative colitis. Then we have the Hasic organism, Haemophilus, Actinobacillus, Cardiobacterium, Eikenella, and Kingella species, and these are very difficult to culture also. Less common organisms include Candida, Aspergillus, Histoplasma, and Brucella. Now, what is pathogenesis? Two factors are needed to establish the endocardial infection. First, endothelial denudation or damage over the valve cusp with platelet deposition. Actually, it is platelet fibrin deposition. So this lead to the formation of thrombus. It is sterile. It is not infective. Then, second factor is episode of bacteremia. There should be the transient episode of the bacteremia. Now, how this whole thing can occur? Endothelial damage. The endothelial damage can be due to the turbulent flow in the setting of the diseased cardiac valve. This leads to the platelet fibrin clot formation over the exposed underlying extracellular matrix. Because when the valve is damaged, then the protective covering is removed, subendocardial collagen is exposed. This causes the platelet activation and aggregation. The platelet then activates the fibrin and a clot is formed. Now, if transient bacteremia occurs, like there is a surgical procedure, or there is some infection occurring elsewhere, there is a septicemia, then there is a transient bacteremia. Bacteremia means bacteria are present in the blood. Then before the protective layer of endothelium forms, means that damaged endothelium, before it regenerates, there should be an episode of bacteremia. So the bacteria then colonize in the fibrin and may develop and progress to the infected vegetation. Now the organism proliferates within the thrombus, forming the infected vegetations, which elicits the inflammatory response, like there will be the fever and the septicemia, joint pain, sweating, etc., and various signs of this. This will result in the erosion of the valve that can lead to emboli. There may be the valvular perforation. It can lead to the valvular aneurysm, because when the valves are damaged, they get weakened. So under the stress or pressure, there may be abnormally dilated, leading to the valvular or ventricular aneurysm can also occur. There can be incompetence or regurgitation of valve. Damage to the conduction pathway can also occur, or there is it can rupture the sinus of valsalva, the area just below the aortic valve. This is all about the pathogenesis. Now, morphologically, what we see on the gross, we can see vegetations which are attached to the atrial aspect of AV valves and ventricular aspect of semilunar valve in relation to the line of apposition or along the line of closure. Why on these aspects? Because of that low pressure mechanism. The large vegetations can extend into the adjacent part of the cusp or the leaflets, chorda tendineae or the sinus of Valsalva. The largest vegetation is seen in the fungal infection, and the color of the vegetation can be red, pink, or yellow. Now, microscopically, we again have the two features. One, we have the inflammation, so we can see inflammatory cells. There will be the thrombus, we can see the fibrin deposition, etc. In the fresh vegetations, we have the fibrin and the platelet with rich neutrophils infiltration, and there will be the colonies of the embedded organisms may be seen. When the In the chronic lesions, the vegetation may show the vascularization, calcification, or fibrosis. The numerous giant cells with lymphocytes are the feature of Coxiella burnetii endocarditis. Now, this is the aortic valve where the vegetations are found. These are the infected vegetations in the aortic valve area. This is the gross picture. When the bacteria enters into these vegetation, it create a biofilm, a protective covering around it. So that's why when we do the treatment for the infective endocarditis, it is usually very long course because it is very difficult to treat this infection because of that protective layer formation. So this is a gross picture. It is the microscopic picture. So in earlier in the theory we discussed, we have the platelet fibrin deposition and we have the inflammatory cells. Then we can see on microscopically we have the bacterial colonies. So in this these are the vegetations. These are the vegetations, and it is very friable so that it can rupture and lead to embolus formation. These are vegetations. In these vegetation we can see two different areas. One is slightly pink, other is purple or yellow area. The pink area is fibrin and the platelet deposition. These pink area is fibrin and platelet. Then we have the blue or purple areas. These blue or purple or blue areas. These blue or purple areas actually shows you the colonies of the bacteria, and these are the inflammatory cells like neutrophils, etc. So this is the microscopic picture. Now clinically, we have the constitutional symptoms: fever. Why? Because it is an infection, and there will be the night sweatings, anorexia, weight loss, and arthralgia. These are the constitutional. For the typical features which are typical of infective endocarditis, we have the mnemonic called from Jane. Each letter stands for some sign or symptom. From fever, F for fever, R is the Roth spot, O Osler's node. Osler nodes are the painful lesions on the palms and the soles. M stands for murmur, that is mostly regurgitation. J stands for Janeway lesion, painless lesions on the palm and sole. A stands for anemia, anemia of chronic disease, that is normochromic normocytic anemia. N stands for nail bed. There will be the nail bed hemorrhage, which we call as splinter hemorrhages, and E is stand for efferent emboli that can lead to various complications. So these are the clinical features. Just remember from Jane. Now, diagnostic criteria, the most important thing is Duke's criteria. This is the most important and widely used criteria for diagnosis of endocarditis. We have definitive, we can give a definitive diagnosis or a possible diagnosis. If we have the two major criteria, then it is the diagnosis will be definitive. If we have positive one major and two minor criteria, then we can also say that diagnosis is definitive, or all the five minor criteria are present and we can say that diagnosis is definitive. And but if we have only one major and one minor criteria we can present, then diagnosis is possible. Again, three minor criteria positive, diagnosis is possible. Now Duke's criteria. What is Duke's criteria? Major criteria are two: positive blood culture and evidence of endocardial involvement. How can we say positive blood cultures? Typical microorganisms which are consistent with endocarditis, like Hayseck organism, Strep and Staph organisms, from two separate blood cultures. So we take two cultures separately, and if they show positive organisms for endocarditis, then we have the first criteria fulfilled. Then evidence of endocardial involvement. How can we see that endocardial is involved or not? First is echocardiography, which should be transesophageal echocardiography because of better view through the esophagus. Second is new valvular regurgitation. So if we have the new heart murmur, then evidence of endocardial involvement is yes present. If it is not present and we have the echocardiography, we see oscillating structures in the heart, abscess formation, or the partial dehiscence of the prostatic valve. If any of these structure findings is present, then that second criteria is met. Now, for minor criteria, we have the five total minor criteria. First is predisposing heart disease. We have already discussed the cardiac risk factor. Second is the fever, very easy. Third is vascular phenomena. It is because of the embolus. The emboli can get lodged into the palms and the soles, so giving rise to genital lesions, or it can arise in pulmonary infarct, or in conjunctiva, it can lead to conjunctival hemorrhage. So vascular phenomena is also the third criteria. The fourth is immunological phenomena. Antibodies which are formed against the bacteria in infective endocarditis can cross-react with the tissues on the other parts of the body, like Osler's node in the palms and soles, glomerulonephritis in the kidney, and Roth spots in the retina. The third is microbiological evidence which is not consistent with the major criteria. So these are the five minor criteria, and it is all about the diagnostic. This is the picture of splinter hemorrhage in the nail bed. The splinter hemorrhage occurs because of this. Now, investigation. On investigation, first, if we see the blood count, then blood examination, not count. Blood examination, we see that leukocytosis, increased total leukocyte count, and DLC, differential leukocyte count, we see the neutrophilia mainly, and there will be the anemia because of the chronic disease, normocytic normochromic anemia. ESR and the CRP will be raised. Both ESR is raised, CRP raised. There is creatinine levels of liver enzymes may be raised. Renal function test is also abnormal. On the urine microscopy, since it can lead to the glomerulonephritis, so we can see the nephritic syndrome like hematuria, blood in the urine. Culture will show the positive organism. ECG can also yield some findings. Culture negative endocarditis. Culture negative endocarditis is due to the subtherapeutic antibiotic therapy. When we are doing the culture, the patient has already taken the antibiotic course, so we won't yield anything on the culture. Or the organisms which are causing the infective endocarditis are difficult to culture on normal growth media, and they require some special techniques, and this will give the culture negative endocarditis. Gram negative organisms of Hayseck group, Brucella, fungi, Coxiella, chlamydia, etc. These are difficult to culture. The complications, which are further divided into cardiac and non-cardiac complication. Cardiac complication include the valvular stenosis or insufficiency. We are already discussed its pathogenesis. Perforation can occur, aneurysm of the valve can occur, then abscess in the valve can also be formed. There is maybe the involvement of myocardium that will lead to myocardial abscess, or in the pericardium it can lead to suppurative pericarditis. The characteristic frictional rub will be present, and it will be relieved in forward bending pain. Cardiac failure from one or the more of above mentioned complications. Extracardiac complication. Embolism is responsible for extracardiac complications. Embolism of the left side of the heart affect organ like spleen, kidney, brain, infarction, etc. Emboli arising from right side of the heart produce pulmonary abscess. Petitias may be seen in the skin and conjunctiva. Osler's node, genital lesions, or glomerulonephritis can occur. The causes of death are mainly cardiac failure, persistent infection, embolus to the vital organism like stroke in the brain, rupturing of the mycotic aneurysm of cerebral arteries. Mycotic aneurysm are actually due to the infection, not due to the just mycos stands for fungus. It is most commonly due to the infection. So this is end of the infective endocarditis pathology section. There is a scenario: a 23-year-old male brought to the emergency being unresponsive on the road. He has fever 101 degree Fahrenheit, erythematous palm, and the painful lesion on his finger pad. There is the systolic murmur on the left lower sternal border that gets louder with the inspiration. So it is very easy that it is infective endocarditis. Many signs are present. uh, First, let's see, there is a new murmur. So cardiac involvement is present. One major criteria is there. Then we have the fever, erythematous palm, painful lesion on his finger pad. So we have the immunological and the other phenomena. We have three minor and one major criteria. So we can say that it is possibly the infective endocarditis. Possible diagnosis, not definitive. Which valvular abnormality is present? Now, since left lower sternal border and there is a blowing systolic murmur, so we have tricuspid valve. Left lower sternal is the tricuspid area, and the systole mean tricuspid regurgitation. Name the organism responsible for this. Staph aureus. It is the most common organism that involves right side of the heart and causes the acute infective endocarditis. Uh, Here is the solved slides. I have already solved this infective endocarditis, tricuspid regurgitation, and there is a reason for being increased during the respiration. You can see through this. And thank you very much.